magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets, crystals, pyramids. Magnets.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Love with
Greetings and welcome, family, to another page of Magnets, Crystals, Pyramids. Hope you had a delicious dinner. I know I did, and I hope you did too. In this time that the weather and things is so cuckoo crazy, make sure you're drinking your Kinkaliba tea. Tonight we're having a healer. Wow, I would say like she would definitely be up there in the altitude. Special acknowledgement to our brother Jamar. Hopefully he's listening. I had invited Jamar, I forgot how long ago, and he referred to me his friend. And when I saw the bio, I was like, whoa. So, we're going to have a good time with this tonight. As always, thank you for being born. Thank you for being alive. Thank you, because we are energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Let me know if y'all can hear me good. Let me know if y'all hear me, if my sound's okay, because I don't want to be talking into oblivion, not having a good sound check. So tonight is Dr. Cassandra Ferguson. And before we proceed forward, always want to acknowledge the master healers that came before us. We thank and invite Yahshua, also known as Jesus, after the invention of the letter J, Mary of Magdalene, Black Madonna. So I'm going to dedicate this show to the goddesses, being that we're going to have a Dr. Goddess of Healing on. I thank and invite Lady Buddha, Lakshmi, Heteru, Osset, Harriet Tubman, Mary McLeod Bethune. But I also got to acknowledge my other brothers, Saint Germain, Simeon Toko, Shakamadou Bamba, Enoch, Elijah, and White Buffalo Calf Woman, for the healing of the world, the healing of the planet. So forgive all life and ask all life to forgive you, because we fall, but we have to get up. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Doc, welcome to the show. Let me straighten this out here. Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was impressive. That was an impressive bio. I had to write family. I had to put together a song for this. I saw her bio. I was like, "Oh, this is music for we got to give her acknowledgement."
Looking forward to hearing this song.
Yeah, let me see if I can find my way to YouTube. So go ahead and talk to the folks. Tell us who you are, where your folks from, and all that kind of nice stuff.
Sure. Thank you. First, thank you. I'm honored to be on the show. I am grateful that we had like a little short call beforehand. Your energy was very welcoming and very comforting. So I appreciate that immensely. And I appreciate what you're doing. Jamar speaks very highly of you, and he's my fiance. So
blessed be.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Papa Jamar. Yeah. Okay. I'm listening.
So
we listening.
All right. So my name is Dr. Cassandra Renee Ferguson, as you mentioned, and I am a international psychologist and thank you, Jamar, and a global consultant. And I founded the Black Lotus Holistic Health Collective in 2021. And
hold, slow down. Black Lotus. What? Say that again.
Black Lotus. The Black Lotus Holistic Health Collective. Yes, because it was a very interesting time in my life as a clinician of color we were burnt out, like with, you know, the pandemic and all that was occurring during that time on the global stage. It was a lot for clinicians. It was a lot for those of us who were doing the work, you know, that were frontline workers, that were first responders. And so many of us were burnt out. So the Black Lotus was an effort to create a space for healers to heal, because I was one of the healers that needed to heal. And I needed
Wow.
to be centered in the healing. And I wanted to center all those who are doing this really important work in the world in their healing. And so the Black Lotus was born of this understanding that lotuses grow in the dark and the mud. And, you know, for me, that was how I grew. It was a pretty difficult time in my life. And I grew exponentially during that time. So the Black Lotus is a collective. So it is founded on where we come from, collectivist societal structures. So that Ubuntu principle and that one depends on the many and the many on the one. I am because you are.
Wow, I like that already. Listen,
Yeah.
you got to put in the private chat your
Uh-huh.
your website, Black Lotus. Now that rings a bell
Oh,
because I sell
sure.
Blue Lotus, White Lotus,
Mhm.
when I have it in stock, Pink Lotus. But I had never heard Black Lotus, and the way you're saying it so eloquently, I'm like, ooh, 'cause that reminds me of the song by Aretha Franklin.
Ah,
Black, there grows a rose in Spanish Harlem.
yes.
A rose
Yes.
in black in Spanish Harlem. Now you coming up in the 20,000s saying Black Lotus, Jack. So
Yes.
yeah, so I give you your goddess acknowledgement. You know, give you the goddess acknowledgement, and to all the goddesses and gods, we give you salutations. Yeah, so hit me up so I can put that banner across the bottom of
Oh,
the
sure.
screen on the private
Oh,
chat while
sure.
I pull up your family. I saw this bio, her bio. Listen, I gotta play this for y'all. This is the full version, Doc. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I want you to hear this, Jack. Wait a second.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, here we go, right here. Family, enjoy the rhythm of the healing beat. Here we go. While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up. Oh, let me slow down here. Push the right buttons. Right buttons. Share screen. Because Lord knows we need some healing. The whole planet needs healing.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Pow.
All you need, healing for humanity, healing for you and me, healing our hearts from memories, healing fulfills our destiny. Dr. Cassandra Ferguson, Reverend and Guy, international psychologist walking worldwide, licensed counselor with the chaplain's grace, bringing sacred healing to every space. Healing.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Me? Oh, no.
That was crazy. I've been having electronic problems. Mercury's in retrograde. That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we got to pull that back. 'Cause I was just getting into the groove with that.
Yeah, I was into it.
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
into it.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we
I
go.
was vibing.
My computer, I've been having problems all day.
For humanity, yeah, healing for you and me, healing our hearts from memories, healing fulfills our destiny.
Founder and CEO, she builds the way. Diaspora rising day by day.
Diaspora rising day by day.
Diaspora to tell no services standing tall.
Diaspora within breaking every wall.
Black Lotus blooming from pain set free. Whole day.
Happened again?
No. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. It's weird. I never had this problem before. I'm putting it back up.
It's too powerful. Uncle Hank.
Listen, I'm putting this back up anyway. So y'all hold on. This is crazy. This is seriously crazy. Okay, well, here we go. We're going to put it back up. And I'm not going to touch nothing. This computer is acting like it's got I don't know what to call it. Let me put it back up, family. Give the sister support. Okay. Here we go.
Helpful community.
Healing for humanity. Healing for you and me. Healing for you and me. Healing our hearts from memories. Healing fulfills our destiny.
She shatters stigma, rewrites the frame, restores the mind without shame. Culturally grounded, globally aware, mental health access everywhere.
Healing for humanity. Healing for humanity. Healing for you and me. Healing for you and me. Healing our hearts from memories. Healing fulfills our destiny.
Author, addiction master, coach on the rise, trainer of leaders across the skies, from the US to Africa shore, Europe, the Middle East, and more. Southeast Asia felt her light, turning deep wounds into insight.
Healing for humanity. Healing for you. Healing for you and me. Healing for you and me. Healing our hearts from memories. Healing fulfills our destiny.
With governments, leaders, community line, trauma-informed, care for body and mind, equity spoken, wellness declared, collective healing, boldly
Healing for humanity. Healing for humanity. Healing for you and me. Healing for you and me. Healing our hearts from memories. Healing fulfills our destiny. She bridges psychology, spirit, and art. Science with soul, mind with heart. Evidence-based, compassionate flame. Cultural humility shaping her name. Healing for humanity. Healing for humanity. Healing for you and me. Healing for you and me. Healing our hearts from memory. Healing for you. Healing fulfills our destiny.
Rev. Dr. Ferguson, steady and wise, helping the broken rise and rise.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a tribute to you.
Training with a Navy.
There we go.
Wow. Thank you.
Let me try scrolling it on the bottom. I'm like touching this computer very carefully. Yeah, show. Okay, here we go. There it is. All right, and now let me shrink myself down because you're on the wooden stage front and center. Yeah,
that was
folks,
absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've heard people speak those words, but I've never heard them in a song, and that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I'll send you the raw track so you could use it as a promo or whatever else you want to do with it. I want to acknowledge all the audience. The folks are still coming in. Then thank you, MW, blessings, Georgia, blessings. The same dope track, so they like it. So let the folks know in your own way how you gonna help folks heal from memories, because we are jacked up beyond band-aids. Come on, Doc, drop it on us.
Wow, I'm still reeling from this song. You should have dropped that on me on the end, but
Right.
there's so much.
Celebrate, have fun, celebrate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was so amazing.
Make your parents proud, Papa and Mama. Make them dance and grind. Do the bump style. Or maybe the chicken. Whatever. However young or old in this life or the afterlife, they'll be doing the chicken, doing the bump, doing the electric slide, and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. Doing the popcorn. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
I
you're
don't know
thinking
how
about
far
that. I
back they
think you're
go.
thinking about.
You know? Yeah.
Wow. Um, my dad is an ancestor, so I know I'm definitely making his name proud. And I give much thanks and gratitude for my father, Algie Ferguson. I speak his name, Ashe.
Ashe,
Um,
Ashe.
thank you.
Yeah.
So you talked about memories. So a big part of my work, and this is also my passion, like I'm gonna let my nerd flag fly. So I love the brain.
Mm.
So when we talk about the brain, there are parts of the brain that store memory, right? So the part of the brain that stores memory is here, it's the hippocampus. So it stores memory and the emotional response to whatever the memory is, right? So you think about, like, I'm from New York, and my people are Caribbean people. And so you think about, like, I think about New York, I think about some jerk chicken or whatever the case may be, and I immediately feel a sense of home and connection, right? And so there's an emotional response to the memory. And so the prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain. It's all about executive functioning, like, decision making, et cetera. And then the back, we have the amygdala, right? So that's the reptilian part of the brain, is what they call it. So that's where the response is, as far as the fight, flight, freeze, fold, like that activation that happens when the brain is like on high alert. And this part of the brain is offline. So I say that when we talk about memories specifically, because breath work is very simple. And I'm sure that you probably talk a lot about this on your show. Breath work is one of the simplest ways that we can get back into a regulated state. So the reason why that's necessary is because when we have memories, the brain doesn't distinguish between when we're remembering something and when it's happening right now.
Wow.
So it's going to respond as though it's happening right now. So if we're having a memory about something that we've experienced that's traumatic, right? The brain is remembering it, but the body is responding to it as though it's happening right now, because the signal from the brain is that there's a threat. So the easiest way for your listeners to address that and get back into a regulated place when you're in a dysregulated space or activated is to use your breath as your anchor. So there's something called box breathing, and that's where you're inhaling for a count of 5, exhaling for a count of 5, like holding your breath for a count of 5, and then you're not inhaling or exhaling for a count of 5. Also,
Mm.
just deeply inhaling and exhaling. So inhaling through your nose, so diaphragmatic breathing, inhaling through your nose and holding that breath, and then exhaling through your nose. You're slowing down your breathing, but what you're also doing is stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. And
Mm.
that's that rest and digest response. And that's why you feel relaxed after you eat, because your body goes into that rest and digest state, but you can activate it with your breath. So when we're having those traumatic memories, or like if we're experiencing things that are activating us where we feel triggered, using your breath is the fastest and easiest way that your listeners can begin to get themselves back into a regulated place.
Mm. That is fascinating. I've been experimenting with this rare or noble gas called xenon, Xenon. And there was a book that was written in the early 1980s called Einstein Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And in the book, they describe the research where xenon helps get rid of bad memories. It literally coats it from this uh, gas that's, very little bit of it is in the atmosphere today. How can, and I'm leading up to the question, how does uh, what we, for lack of better words, bad memories impact us in our present day life, in our daily living?
So one of the things, I'm a survivor of violence. And so witnessing it, both, being a witness, living in Brooklyn, New York, I was exposed to a lot of gun violence during the era that I grew up. And so one of the things for me has been rewriting a narrative, essentially, by beginning the process of changing the narrative, the way that I've defined the experiences that I've had. So it's not magical thinking in a sense that it's more so like identifying like what is causal to the trauma that we experience. So it was the fear of death, right, was the part of it that was traumatic, because I was fearful that I was going to die because I was in the midst of this gunfire. And so one of the things has been getting myself back into a regulated place is first, like what we talked about a few moments ago. But then comes the work of beginning the process of identifying what was causal, what's the root cause of the fear that's associated with the trauma or the traumatic experience that I had, and then beginning the process of unpacking that. There are many different therapeutic interventions that I've used, both, ones that are Western and based in Western psychology, but then there are also ones that are more culturally responsive for me as a woman of African descent. So being able to use things like I've used EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's where you use
whoa. Eyeball therapy. Tell us about that. What in the world is eyeball therapy? We're not gonna let you just roll that over like, yeah, I hear that every day on the news. I never heard of that before.
Yes, it's EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So basically, EMDR accesses the brain directly. So it bypasses using talk therapy at all. So you're saying like the therapist is not doing anything but really doing the bilateral movement. And then as the therapist is doing the bilateral movement, the brain is actually being changed to enable the patient to desensitize themselves to the traumatic experience. So when they remember that experience, it doesn't have the same impact anymore. And
Okay,
I'm both a practitioner and a person who's experienced it.
That's kind of deep, Doc. Hold on a second. So you're saying the eyeball movements is connected to the brain. I got that part.
Mm-hmm.
But while you was talking, I was imagining if somebody was to wear certain color clothes, or if the goddesses was to wrap themselves in turquoise with some blue eyeglasses, would that be a healing experience?
And what are they? So I'm going to follow along with that. So what are they doing? Are they just using the color itself?
In other words, I'm just making this up. Imagining a woman like got that Erykah Badu wrap on her head that's in turquoise with matching turquoise glasses while she's doing laundry or yelling at the children. Will she be more chilled out because the brain is getting all that blue? Is that what you're saying with the eyeball therapy?
Well, with the eye movement, it's really like, let me see if I have something. So like, say for instance, if I had this pen, right? And I've done EMDR sessions virtually. So you're basically focusing your attention on this pen and the movement of the pen left to right. And you're moving your eyes with the pen.
Wow.
And so you're following the pen with your eyes as you're talking about, like, so you're putting in your mind's eye the memory, whatever the traumatic memory is, while the therapist is using whatever they're using for the bilateral movement. So it's actually helping the brain to process the trauma, because most times we're activated because with those memories because it's unprocessed trauma. So
that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. Because, like as your hubby, I might as well just call him your hubby. As he know, I done took a whole bunch of psychedelics. So while you was swinging that black pen, I was seeing colors coming off it. Like, what if it was like a color spectrum on the pen? And that's what was hitting me while I was watching it. You ever thought of that?
Yeah, the brain is so fascinating. So it's like when you're watching this, your brain is activated, right? Like think about your eyes are connected to your occipital lobes, which are connected to your brain, right? So like you're getting this directly, like it's going into the brain. So you're seeing it and then it's funneling into the brain and it's processing it. So like with your trauma, like you're seeing it, the pen move at the same time or whatever I'm moving, but your brain is also taking the traumatic event and it's processing it so that you're able to be desensitized to the impact of the traumatic event.
Doc, that's deep water. Because I'm thinking, suppose you have like a red pen and a person stay in front of a mirror and say, I am worthy, more money, I am happy. That sounds real deep. That's a rabbit hole. That's some serious stuff.
I think you're going to like this one. So there's also another, like for people that are using it on themselves, there's something called like it's like the butterfly, like where you're tapping. So it's the same movement as though you're using a pen, but you're using your hands.
Whoa.
And so someone can do that as they're processing the memory.
I had a friend of mine, God bless her,
Mhm.
and her name was, I'll just say her first name, Alexandria. She was top of her class in Harvard Medical School. She was a psychiatrist and she loved psychedelics. When I met her, introduced her, she wanted to do it all day, every day. And she was busy tapping while she was in the zone. Special acknowledgement to you, Alexandria, wherever you are, because she made her ascension also. You know, a lot of folks don't stick around on this prison planet. You know, they break out. But that is, so tell us about that tapping. What was all that tapping in case we run into somebody tapping their beat while they're walking down the street?
So the tapping is not the same thing, not to be confused with emotional freedom technique or EFT, but it's more like bilateral. So the same movement, left, right, is left, right, left, right, left, right. So you're just basically doing the same thing. You can do the same thing with your feet when you're walking. So it's just the bilateral movement. So it's like you're connecting the left and the right hemispheres of the brain and you're processing the trauma. So that's the same. It's the same thing as if you're moving the pen.
Now, you know, that sounds like old Southern Baptist style church tapping your feet to the gospel music. Is there a connection possibly, Doc?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Some may disagree, but I would say yes through the lens of culturally responsive therapeutic intervention. Yes, because that would be more related to how we heal, right? We use music, we use dance, we use social environments like the barbershop, the beauty salon, the dinner table, the street corner, the village, right? Those are the
Don't forget the liquor store. The liquor store.
I don't think it's healing taking place there,
though. Across the street from the church. Across the street from the church.
Right. In front of the garbage can.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Had to throw that in there.
But I would say yes, that there is an element of that's healing. That's very healing. The communal aspect of the church is very healing. The music, right? And yes, the movement. I would say yes, that it would be a part of healing.
Because I'm going to tell you, Doc, and family, the liquor store around here, they be jamming out front. I mean, they be playing some good music too, you know, and I'll be like, ain't this something? And it's called the, liquor store. But tell us about more modalities, because we might be doing it without us knowing.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So there's something that I've been doing since 2021, because the space that I have, the Black Lotus, is inside of a historic town, inside of a park. So I'm in a wooded area, right? And the property was built in 1720, and the town was founded in 1690. Wow. And so I do something called nature-based therapy. So I take my clients out for a hike in the woods, and we do our sessions outdoors. So that's something and we use nature as a co-therapist. So we look at the seasons as they change, and we process grief in the fall because of the leaves.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it is very beautiful. It is very beautiful. So that's one of the other modalities. I use nature-based therapy.
Nature-based therapy.
Yes.
I see y'all dancing out there in the full moon.
Oh, yes. We've done that
lakeside or beachside. That is beautiful.
Don't forget being barefoot.
Barefoot. Oh, okay. You know what? Take it from the beginning. Doc, why barefoot?
Oh my goodness, because of the energy that the earth has, the soil, like having your feet in the earth. Energetically, like what you're getting from the earth and what you're giving to the earth, right? What you're releasing into the earth that the earth is able to use, to transmute, and to use for something beautiful to grow. But I think more importantly, it's the grounding and that sense of connection to the earth. And that is very much related to our cultural context, like the connection that we have to nature, the connection that we have to the earth, the healing properties of the earth. we've done so much outdoors, and I take hikes in the woods with no shoes and socks, just walking and just experiencing energetically what the earth is offering. And I have a friend who's Lenape, and the land that I'm on is actually Lenape land. And she said to me once, she said, walk on the earth like she said, walk with each step like you're kissing the earth with each step. And so
Wow.
like being able to like have that connection with the earth, and the other element of it has been bringing people of African descent back into natural spaces, right? Because, because of things like redlining and all the host of oppressive tactics that have been used in this racist system that we live in, it's helping people reconnect with nature and reconnect with natural spaces as well. So it's really a beautiful therapeutic intervention, if you want to call it that. But I would say it's just a beautiful healing modality that I've
Yeah.
used. Yeah.
So I'm getting a flavor while you're describing these wonderful visions
Hmm.
and full color. You're combining like East and West and um, Turtle Island and African roots, and
Yes.
you're creating a beautiful collage of healing hues.
Yes.
Which does that make sense? Kind of like
Yes.
what you're doing, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Sure. Sure. So there's, of course, there are a lot of Western modalities, right? So you have like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. You have, um, what else? What else do I use? I use a very eclectic tool belt, right? So I integrate somatic work as well. So that's like getting into the body, because there are many things that I find that the, individuals who I have the privilege of working with, they can't put into words. And some things were precognition, like where they had no language at the time to be able to describe it. Like they didn't have the emotional literacy at the time to describe it. So we go into the body. And so we use techniques like, I use vibrational healing. So I actually have a bowl that I ordered from Nepal that you can actually stand in. And so I use that for vibrational healing, just to be able to help that individual bring up what they're holding in their body to the surface, and helping to remove or to release it or to transmute it or to give it language. So sometimes I'll get into the body by asking questions like, where are you holding it? Where are you feeling tension or tightness in your body? And then that person can share with me, like, I'm feeling it in my throat. And most times I'll ask them, if that part of your body could speak, what would it say? What sound would it make? And so
Wow.
it enables that person to really connect with the emotion by going into their body. And sometimes they might just have like, I feel a tightness in my stomach, or I feel a pressure in my chest. And that helps to give language and give a voice to what they're experiencing. So some of the therapeutic interventions that I use don't always have verbiage, like we're not always talking. So sometimes it's using things like vibrational healing, sound therapy. So using the singing bowls, using drums, like using other tools to help people access emotions and access their, emotional response to whatever they may have experienced.
Okay, Doc. This is almost. I want to give a special acknowledgement to our brother Steve, who's been a very good facilitator of indigenous healing. He has land in Colombia, South
Wow.
America. I want to acknowledge
Mhm.
Steve. I want to acknowledge also two beautiful sisters that introduced me to entheogens, Aaliyah and Yani Ya. I want to acknowledge all the ones who have the fortitude to actually do this earth-centric shadow work, because
Yeah.
this is and while you're talking, I'm thinking like, wow, so when will we ever hear of, I never heard of it before, Doc, but I don't even wonder, I'm starting to wonder, is there something called spank therapy?
So we're talking about, what we're talking about, BDSM.
I don't even know. I only know it like, like one time years ago, especially acknowledging to my friend Andrea, we was being playful, and
Mhm.
we was in our youth, and she pulled out a belt and she said, I just want to beat your ass. I was like, go ahead. And she pulled out the belt, started spanking me, and I started getting ready to cry. And I'm like, whoa. Because I used to get beatings all the time when I was a kid. I was the oldest, and they're like, okay, he put on the wrong pair of sneakers. Beat him. So I used to just get beat all the time for the silliest stuff because parents didn't know. And so I'm wondering, because I see it in a lot of in the corporate world, a lot of when they go to their ladies of leisure, they always want to get a spanking. So I'm wondering, is there something modified? Like what's that spanking all about?
Sure. Well, I'm glad you used the example of men in corporate America, but I want to circle back first to what you shared. Thank you for sharing that first and foremost. And I know that we say it in jest, like we make jokes about like being spanked as children and being beat as children. However, unfortunately, this is what was handed down, right, in terms of corporal punishment. And there not being an understanding of the actual impact that it has on a child to be beat, to be hit, to be punished in that way. And, yes, there is this fine line between, disciplining a child and beating a child and causing harm to the child. And so in terms of that aspect, when you talk about like the response that you had, like this visceral response that you had to being hit in that way, I would say that it was pretty activating for you, or to use a word that has been overused and misused, triggering. And so that response was triggering for you. So there's something called internal family systems, which is a type of therapeutic intervention where we talk about parts of ourselves. So there's a young part of yourself that was responding in that moment. That's the part of you that came forward using that particular therapeutic lens. Like that young part of you is what came forward. And he was responding to being hit. And so thank you for sharing that. And I think like that's an aside to when if we're talking about like BDSM and, so like the whole bondage and, the sadomasochistic component. For many people, when you think about that, like you talk about like corporate, people who are in corporate America or who are in leadership positions, who are in positions of control, what they want to do is surrender that control, and they want to be controlled, and they want to experience that complete surrender to someone else. So like when you think about like the dominatrix, right? And the whole idea of being spanked and giving someone else permission to have complete control over you. And so for some people, they get aroused by it because there is a very thin line between, in that particular context, between pain and pleasure. And so for many, they experience a level of pleasure with that type of experience. So whether it's being spanked or choked or using, other types of devices like paddles or like belts, for instance. So those are two different things, though. I just wanted to say that those are two different things. Like if you're having that response after having been, someone who experienced physical violence, then that's different. That's where you're activated, you're triggered by it. And then we have on the other end, someone who enjoys adult play, right? Adult play, like being spanked or handcuffed or, some type of other type of bondage, etc. So those are two separate things. So I would say for some people, it can be very empowering to be like someone who's, disempowered in other areas of their life, and they find this world of BDSM, and they can be a dominatrix, and they can feel a sense of power, right? It can be healing. And then for someone who, again, in this particular, realm that we're talking about, someone learning because they're always in this power, this role of power or position or control, learning how to surrender, learning how to, give someone else that measure of power and control. So it can have its benefits. If we're talking about, if we're playing right now together and we're saying like, what if, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say yes, it could have some benefit, but that in that context.
Doc, this is real deep because I had a guest on in the past, and I asked her, with so many children electronically addicted to the cell phones for their dose of, was it dopamine,
Mhm.
oxytocin, serotonin,
Mhm.
endorphins. And when the parent takes the phone away,
Mhm.
the child may get violent
Mhm.
uh, because they become addicted to the dopamine that they get from the cell phone.
Mhm.
How would you, with your knowledge, um, break the spell? Is there a therapy to break the dopamine spell with electronics upon youth?
Hmm. Very good question. I was just actually reading an article about how the brain changes as a result of that.
Mm.
You have so many people that put these tablets in front of these small children, these toddlers, and they're in front of the tablets. And then eventually, when they're old enough, they're in front of the phone and then the television and all the things, right? So it actually, the research showed that there are actual physical changes that occur in the brain as a result of
Wow.
this long-term use of these electronic devices. And like you're absolutely correct in these hits of dopamine. And so I would, say in terms of addiction of any kind is a brain disease.
Wow.
So most people, when they think about addiction, they think about, like that the person has a moral deficiency and they're weak and no, it's actually changes that occur in the brain. So you think someone with alcohol dependence, substance use dependence, gambling, sexual addiction, shopping, and addiction to, like you talked about, like to these electronic devices, it's all the same. The same thing that fires off in the brain for that hit of drugs or that drink or that gambling, it's the same thing, right? So when you look at that as an addiction specialist, the first thing is identifying what is the need, right? What is the need? So when you look at someone with, the addiction to the electronic devices, for instance, the need is, like you said, like that hit of dopamine, that euphoric response that they get when they're on these devices. Same thing as someone who takes that drink or swipes that card in shopping or, pulls that lever that's gambling. It's all the same thing. So they're
Yeah.
getting that hit.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah, like
first
playing
thing
numbers. Yeah.
exactly. The first thing is removing it. And in some cases, depending upon what it is, you can't remove it entirely. Like with the person who's alcohol dependent, you can't entirely remove it. However, what you can do is you can begin the process of reducing that amount of time that they're on it, because there's something called neural pathways that are created when you're doing something repetitively. So there's a neural pathway that's created, right? So the neural pathway is there because the brain is now addicted to this response because it knows that with this electronic device is going to get what it needs for it to have that response, right? And get this hit of dopamine. So there's an association that's made between the electronic device and pleasure. Boom, right? So that's the neural pathway that's created. So in order to disrupt or break it, what you do is you don't get rid of it entirely, but you weaken it by not continuing to strengthen it by using the electronic device. So you have to remove the device, and you remove the device enough so that you weaken it enough. So that's the first thing, is beginning to weaken that neural pathway that supports that behavior. And then you replace it with something else. So working in the field, like one of the things that I always say is that tool is in your belt. It's an old rusty tool that doesn't work well, but it's a tool that's in your belt. And I would never ask someone to take all their tools out of their belt because you leave them defenseless, right? And in this case, I don't have anything to replace it with. So you give them a better tool, an adaptive tool that they can use. So you replace it with something else. And so that's key as well, is finding something that is more adaptive, that doesn't have the same ill effects that the electronic device, the drugs, the gambling, or whatever has on the individual. So
That's deep.
reducing the time, removing it, and then replacing it with an alternative.
That means the whole planet is a bunch of addicts in that sense, because some folks go to church to get the dose. Some young folks race down the street to get the dose.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks play numbers to get the dose.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have
Food,
Twitter, TikTok,
sex.
Instagram,
Exactly.
YouTube. We're a bunch of addicts. And you want to help this planet? Good luck, Doc.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Absolutely. That ripple, man, like it's like if I help one person, that's one person that has a family, that has a community. There's a ripple. There's still hope.
Well, you know, when I hear the word ripple, I think of Sanford and Sons and Fred Sanford loving Ripple. But I get what you're saying, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got some comments. Let's see. Wow, does she have a book? Because this is deep and needed.
Thank you.
MWSO7I is. So I think you have a book, right?
So I do have some pieces that have been published, but I'm working on publishing a larger publication. So I have like my doctorate dissertation research that has been published. However, yes, I am definitely going to have a book coming out very soon. Very soon.
Know, I can't help but to ask you this. Oh, wait a second. Let's we got Frequency Speaks. Francesca Abbey. She's a beautiful goddess. As an African percussionist, am I healing myself through the bilateral hand movement as I'm playing the drum? Oh, yes. That's a good question.
Yes,
whoa.
Absolutely. So when we talk about the culturally responsive ways of healing, ways that are specific to our cultural context, absolutely. There is so much research that's being done, Abby, on the benefits of the drums and using the drums, the dancing, the beat, because it's closest to your ears as well. So like when I'm playing the sound bowls or I'm using any type of healing device, it's closest to my ears. So I'm actually receiving a great deal of the benefit as well as the people who are listening. And absolutely the bilateral movement, that left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, is absolutely beneficial. And I would also suggest and this is just not when you're performing, but like if you are processing something, you're working through something, especially something like trauma. And I would start with like a little T trauma, not a big T trauma, but a little T trauma, like something that you've experienced. You can actually use that, holding that in your mind, and then using that left, right, left, right, left, right, that bilateral movement. And it's important to also add your breath, like using your breath.
Wow.
Yeah, that's deep. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
deep.
a great question. And
that was great. Thank you, Francesca Abbey. You know what? Doc, just maybe family. To all who we know, people that are addicted to the cell phone, tablet, imagine giving your children like a percussion instrument. What do you think of that, Doc?
Yes. And teaching them how to use their breath and giving them the opportunity to explore creative outlets. Yes, music is one, and other creative outlets. Like my children, I introduced them to art, excuse me, to meditation, to breath work, to like various different things. And so my son is now an artist, because of it. So like giving them another place where they can explore, where they can use that particular, like be able to move that energy. So sometimes it's like they're trying to release, sometimes they're trying to access feelings. And so being able to have something like a drum, oh my gosh, that Francesca Abbey, that's such a perfect question. Like using a drum or using some other instrument. Yes, that absolutely. And giving them another way of expressing themselves. The Black Lotus, we actually adopted a public school. And we went to the public school and we provided free meditation, yoga, massage therapy, reflexology to the educators. But then we also came into the classroom and we used these sound bowls. So we used the bowls in the classroom with like kindergarten and children who had autism, etc. And we use the bowls and taught each of the classrooms how to use their breath. So like we call it for adults a smokeless smoke break. That's why people, for the most part, that's what they're deriving from smoking, is they're inhaling and exhaling. They're using their breath. So we teach children, like little children, dragon breath, like how to inhale and exhale to bring themselves to a regulated place. So I think like that's so key, like teaching our children various different ways that they can have an outlet, whether it's drumming, art, martial arts is another beautiful outlet that I introduced to my son, and I love it as well. But finding other outlets and ways that they can channel that energy, move that energy, and be able to get into a place of regulation.
Now, Doc, you're going down the rabbit hole. You're taking us down the rabbit hole. I just had a visual of, right now the trend is wearing all these extensions of fake or Indian hair and eyelashes that are so huge they almost touch eyebrows. Like, so what would break that dopamine? Because I think it's really some dopamine. Because like I watch over here in Crown Heights and Bed-Stuy. Like the ones that wearing the fake hair. Oh, they whip it around like it's really there. I mean, they become animated with the fake hair. Like Bootsy Collins ain't got nothing on these young folks with this fake hair that goes down all the way down their back, and so that means that. So what would you do to give them that dopamine dose and get them unhooked from the funk of the fake or the fake of the funk? I don't even know what word to use because this is deep.
Well, let's start here. Much of what I've seen, and this is like, I was actually recently in Nigeria, and in Nigeria, there is this hair. I forgot the texture of it. It's called bone. I think it's called bone straight. And so the girls and the women that have it, they're seen as having money, right, and status when they have this bone straight hair, right? And I think the same thing holds true. I think, first, I'll start with this. I think women, there's so many beautiful expressions of us and ways that we adorn ourselves, and hair and nails and lashes and all those things are ways that we adorn ourselves, right? However, what I say is when it becomes problematic is when women are dependent upon that, right, in order for them to feel good about themselves. Now, we also have to consider the fact that living in this particular societal context where the Eurocentric ideal of beauty is what's identified as our standard of beauty here, girls like, brown girls like me, we grow up seeing, I know growing up, I didn't see a lot of images of beauty that looked like me. And I wasn't affirmed in the media. And as a result of that, there were a lot of people who raised me, who were around me, who didn't know how to affirm my beauty because they couldn't affirm their own. So I would say, let's start there in talking, let's really speaking to the core of it, the phenomena that creates it, which is the racist system that we are raised in. And within that racist system, we are internalizing, for many, unfortunately, have internalized that ideal of beauty that we don't fit. And so they try to recreate that with the hair down their back, with the lashes. And unfortunately, like you look at places like I've traveled to Senegal and to other countries like Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, where it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but skin bleaching was a thing.
Oh, yeah, boy. Right? Oh, yeah.
So, like we have to go there. And I don't think it's in as much as when we talk about like the dopamine hit and the addiction, in as much as it's the internalized racism, right? Wow. For again, and I'm saying this, and I want to be very clear that I'm making a distinction between women just wanting to play and to express themselves in all the ways that we can, because we look beautiful with anything. We can pull off anything because we are beautiful. And there are also women, unfortunately, that believe that as a result of again, this racist system that we are raised in, right? And we are indoctrinated into this system of self-hatred. We're indoctrinated into this system of believing that Eurocentric is the ideal of beauty, right? And so what I would say to that is like, we have to begin with doing the work, the inner work, to begin to address that. We need to do the work to counter messaging, to change that narrative. And I believe we're doing a good job at that. You know, we're doing the work around it. And I see you see that there are more and more women that are rocking their natural hair. There are more and more women that are going without the makeup, right? That are taking pictures natural without the makeup. So I would say that there is some traction. There is some improvement that's being made as a result of, you know, what we've been indoctrinated into. And we are beginning to change that narrative.
You know, that's very powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, we got some more comments here. Let's see. Yeah, you got folks listening in. Seems as though I can barely remember is when my family members tell me about the good times.
Mm,
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 okay.
mm. I get what you're saying. So one of the things, like when we experience trauma, and I will use myself as an example, right? Like I said, I grew up during a time where there was a lot happening. There was a lot happening. There was a lot happening in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Crown Heights, Brooklyn, during the time that I was growing up. So one of the things, like I said, with trauma, think about it like a messy linen closet when we experience trauma. Like all of the memories, all the stuff is everywhere, right? And it's hard to organize the memories when we experience trauma or when we experience like extremely challenging times. So one of the things I think is important is being able to first identify that time period, and then being able to kind of go back and figure out what was happening during that time period. And this is a much longer conversation. I can't explore the entirety of it. Hopefully there will be other conversations that we'll have. However, that's one of the things that I would say like creates a challenge when we experience trauma. Sometimes the memories can be disorganized and it can be very difficult to remember for some people whole periods of their childhood. You know, so there are some people who have difficulty recalling like very large chunks of their childhood because of trauma. And so the brain and our psyche has a way of protecting us. So there are sometimes where we can't access certain memories because our we don't feel psychologically safe to access those memories. So
That's
that's
real deep.
creating a space for you to access those memories. So therapy, finding yourself a therapist who is culturally responsive, a culturally responsive therapist, and creating that safe space for you to be able to process those memories. And eventually what will happen when you feel psychologically safe is you'll be able to access those memories. That's a great question.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for trusting the audience that's listening to share that particular, share that particular question. Thank you.
This is a comment from Agnes, the poetess. When you speak of number playing, what about when you have vivid dreams that bring the numbers to you? I guess that's a question. I also just see a number, then it comes out.
Hmm.
Is it the dopamine that brings me to the dreams, visions?
Hmm.
Interesting.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I would have to circle back because I couldn't say yes to that question definitively that it's a dopamine in and of itself. I would say that we have three, like when we think about consciousness, right? We have the conscious mind, which we're in right now. We're talking, we're processing. Then we have the subconscious mind, and that's where, because we have so much stimuli, we can't process everything. So we have subconscious mind. So that's like kind of where things are dumped that we can't process. Then we have the subliminal state. And the subliminal state is what we enter when we're asleep. And that's where all of that information from the subconscious and the subliminal we get access to in our dreams. And sometimes it comes out like, really abstract, where we're dreaming about, a cow with sneakers on or whatever. And it's like symbols, for things, or a metaphor for something else. So I would say if it's something that you think about enough, it makes sense that you would dream about those numbers, or maybe you're seeing sequences of numbers and your brain is storing that information. And then when you're asleep, you're getting access to those different numbers. Or it could be a host of other things. But I'm just thinking based on the conversation that we're having right now, that could be some factors. But thank you for asking that question. It's an interesting question. And now you're going to have me thinking about it.
Yeah, Agnes is an amazing artist. Her and her husband, Kojo,
Wow.
they're incredible geniuses of art.
Mm.
And yeah, so now, being that you know Jamar, and I'm not using no last name, okay? All right, just brother Jay. Have you pondered upon experiencing or exploring indigenous visionary herbs?
Yes.
I
Definitely.
love it.
Yes. Yes, I have. And I know for sure, like it's something that we're, within the field of psychology that we're looking at and we're studying, and it's actually being used now, working with veterans around, especially around post-traumatic stress disorder, more complex trauma. And, it's been used for, more severe cases of depression and anxiety, like things like psilocybin actually change the brain. So it
Wow.
helps with making very important modifications to the brain and being able to process, the trauma that one has experienced in a way that is, and as a therapist, I will say this, it's like 10 years of therapy in a weekend. So it's definitely a very powerful tool. And that is why I have moved into the realm of holistic health and using culturally responsive, treatment modalities and using more healing modalities, because that is a tool that I believe wholeheartedly can be of benefit. It definitely can be of benefit. I've
I gotta
seen it.
share. I gotta share with you, Doc.
Sure.
I have and I'm not gonna use his name because it's too powerful. I have a distant cousin who's a witch doctor.
Hmm.
I mean, bona fide, certified. He got all. He traveled the whole gizmo, but he introduced me to what is it called? Ibogaine or Iboga or Betwe,
Hmm.
and it's an African psychedelic that uh, unlocks the memory from the time you was conceived
Hmm.
and whatever you experienced emotionally while you was in your mother's stomach,
Wow.
and how that impacted your uh yeah, I would get how that affected your mindset.
Hmm.
Now I didn't go in that deep. I just went. He just took. He spread out a big piece of plastic because he thought me and another brother was going to possibly throw up in his office, but we
Hmm.
didn't. Neither one of us did. And I guess
Hmm.
it was because of our diet. But I remember, Doc, and I'm sharing this with family. I remember it felt so good. It felt like a homecoming, an
Hmm.
herbal homecoming.
Wow.
And I wonder, and this is what I'm leading up to, with the different patients, does it seem like there's a possibility that some people are human or are some people in sort of like encapsulated in a human form? Have you ever had that um, question come up in your patients? Like, like, is this a real human or is this an ET in a skin suit?
Hmm. You mean the patient asking that question about
No,
themselves?
no, no. Your assessment of
Oh, all right.
diverse people.
Okay.
In other words, have you ever met ETs that's trying to be keeping it on the low low?
I would say this. I would say I've had some clients that were very unique. They were very they were very unique expressions of sentient beings. I'll say that. I yeah, I've met people that have, especially doing the work that I do now. So my practice, my work has evolved, from talk therapy, like more of the Western, because I was trained in Western psychology. However, it has evolved into something more. So it's more psycho spiritual work that I'm doing now. So I'm using so many different spiritual modalities. So I'm able to see beyond the
Makes sense.
physical, and I'm able to access and work with the individual's energy. So working energetically as well, and using those tools to do that, and having the clinical insight, but using it within the spiritual realm has been what I've been doing. And so I would say I've seen some remarkable things.
I believe you. So
Yeah.
you, in a sense, that's almost like you're a neo medicine woman, in a sense of speaking.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a modern day, an ancient future medicine woman. That's
Hmm.
where I'm getting the, and you're
Okay.
using East and West and quantum intuitive um, faculties for the purpose of healing.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Thank you.
Salutations. You got some more comments?
Okay.
Thank you so much for the compliments. You're welcome. And then there's another one. Do you accept donations to continue your work? If so, how can I donate? And
Wow.
if you got a donation link, send it in the private chat so I can put it right on the banner while you're
Okay.
still here.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, punch
And
it
you
in.
would be able to find it on my website. I do have a section of my website where you can donate. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'll be traveling to Ethiopia on Friday. So this is like my sixth trip to Ethiopia. And I do quite a bit of work in Ethiopia. And
You do?
oh, yes.
Ooh, have you ever been to like the Ethiopian church that was carved out of stone?
Lalibela.
Yeah. You been there?
I haven't, but I'm going this time when I go. I'm going to
Ooh.
Lalibela.
Do you
Yes, I've
have a
been to many of the churches, and I went during Timkit, which is the holiest time of the year in Ethiopia. And what I tell you, absolutely beautiful. And it's an interfaith. The gathering that I went to was an interfaith gathering. So you had all of these different faith-based organizations together at one event. And it
ooh?
was absolutely beautiful. The food, the coffee is I love it. I
That's
love it.
amazing. And I
Yeah.
want to acknowledge all my Muslim brothers and sisters. Happy Ramadan. Because I just
Yeah.
found out when I went to get my phone checked that today's the first day of Ramadan.
Mhm.
So I know they follow the moon. But the question I have for you, do you have a copy of an Ethiopian Bible, Doc?
That is what I'm going to get this time. I've been because I have the Coptic crosses, which are absolutely beautiful, and the Coptic
Yeah.
crosses are there throughout Ethiopia, and depending upon where you are, they have these different iterations of the Coptic crosses. And I do have it. My fiance just said I do have a copy of the Ethiopian Bible. So yes.
Now that's a whole nother show because it's like I think it's 16 or 20 books that was not taken out of the Bible, but the Roman Nicene Council removed the books because it was talking about reincarnation and that people are literally gods and goddesses and Book of Maccabees, Book of Enoch, just to name a few. And special acknowledgement to Ross Ben and yeah, see if you can bring back or maybe get a dual translation of the Ethiopian text and the English. That would be hot.
I will do that.
Wow.
I will do that. Demonstration.
Yeah. Well,
I
happy.
will see if I can find that.
Yeah. Because have you ever been to that church that's up in the mountains where, it's like a cliffs? It's a church that's all the way up in the mountains, and it's like you got to almost dangle from ropes to get up to the church.
No, but I have been to many of the churches there. I've been to
Ooh.
several. And there was a church because, that's the altitude. You're like in a higher altitude in Ethiopia. And so we have been to like where we had to climb up a hill. We weren't dangling from anything, but we did have to climb up a hill. There were two churches that we went to like that. And you wear, like with most of the places of worship there, you wear like a netala, which is a covering that you use to cover your body when you're there. So it's just very beautiful. Their
Wow,
customs,
that is
etc.
beautiful.
But I mentioned it because the beautiful thing about the work that I've had the opportunity to do in Ethiopia, I always go and I am in the posture of culture humility, where I understand I'm not the expert. They're the expert in their culture. But one of the things when the person asked about donating to the work, the beautiful thing about the work that we've been able to do there is like my intention as a global citizen is to make sure that I give as much as I get whenever I travel. And
Beautiful.
so we've had the opportunity of working with several organizations in Ethiopia where we've been able to pay people's salaries for the year. Like there are people making $8 a day or $8 a month. And so we were able to pay the salary of people for the year, and like how impactful that is to have like immediate impact, right? Like we were able to furnish a school, a few of the classrooms, like actually providing them with resources in the classroom, the backpacks, etc. So it's something that makes a significant impact. Like a little goes a long way. So I just wanted to say thank you for making that offer to do that, because this work is really important work, and we are global citizens. So we do have a responsibility, right? To ensure that if one person is suffering, we all are suffering. If one person is not free, none of us are free. So our work globally is very important.
Doc, is it possible
Mhm.
for you when you go to Ethiopia
Mhm.
to bring Uncle Hanky a stash of Afar Ethiopian Afar salt back?
Afar salt.
And
I
family,
will.
I'm going to tell you in my lab experiences, Doc, it's the one of the best salts on the planet.
Is it AFR? AFAR?
AFAR. It
Okay.
comes as either a pearl
Mhm.
or it comes as, like fine salt.
Granules.
Yeah. And
Okay.
if you can get some, and then if you can make it happen, I will pay you. I'll give you the money before you go. But
Okay.
a far salt.
Afar salt. So do you want the pearl or the granules?
Granules,
Okay.
because it's part of it's an
Hmm.
incredible salt if you can get it. And you
Okay.
get yourself some, because I'm not even gonna give you the recipe. And it's so simple, and it's a profound recipe that I'll share with you and your
Okay.
hubby Jamar. If
Okay.
you can get your hands on a stash, I hope you take him with you so he can bring back a suitcase full. Um, because it's a supernatural salt that has multiple uses.
Wow. Okay.
All right. And more details after the show. But
Okay.
Jamar, Brother Jay, Doc, Ethiopian family, if you can get it, listen. Agnes, the poetess, I'm telling you, family, if you can get your
Mhm.
hands on Ethiopian Afar salt.
Got it.
And the Ethiopian restaurants here use American white salt. They don't use Ethiopian salt.
Wow.
Go figure. Crazy.
Hmm.
And then you're going to have fun with it in a multitude of ways.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I am so glad we had this conversation. Mm,
Okay.
mm. And I'm
I'm
saying
looking
it again,
forward to
family. I'm telling you on this show, one of the best salts on the planet is Ethiopian Afar salt.
Okay.
So, what would you like to leave in your closing comments to the tribe?
Hmm. So you invited her in when we started. You called in Nana Harriet Tubman, and she is all throughout my space. Like she's in all the corners of my holistic health center, and she's in many places in my home.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And one of the things that I will leave the audience with is with Nana Harriet, she had to conceptualize what it meant to be free. And she then conceptualized what it meant to be free. And then she had to envision herself being free. Then she had to create a plan to create that freedom for herself first. And then she went back and freed other people. So the moral or the lesson or the message in that is self-liberation begins in the mind before it can happen in the body. Right? And being able to recognize that we have to free ourselves first. We have to liberate ourselves first before we can liberate anyone else. And this is especially for people like you, like me, like Jamar, and the rest of your audience who are healers, who are people who do healing work. And you don't have to be a healer in the traditional sense of the word. If you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're a sister, a brother, a community member, you are a healer, because we do healing work in various different ways. We must center ourselves in our healing. We must, in order for us to have the ability, the capacity, the bandwidth to do the healing work, we must heal ourselves first. And that comes first through liberating our minds. Stephen Biko said, he's a South African activist. He said the most powerful weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So liberating our minds is so key, especially living in this world that we live in today. We have to free our minds so that we can liberate our bodies by putting healthy foods in our body, putting healthy things in our minds, putting healthy things in our bodies, moving our bodies, doing all those things. We have to free our minds first. And remembering that we have to heal ourselves and center ourselves in our healing so that we can do the healing work that we do in our communities.
Beautifully said. Ashe, Aho, Ubuntu. Thank you, Doc, for being on the show tonight. Let me know whenever you want. Yeah, thank you, Brother Jay. So we got to do this again in the future. So let me know when you're ready to do another show. Family, like, subscribe, share. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for joining us. And we say, Ashe.